snakes. The enemy here is called the serpent of old. Now, in the very first book of the Bible, he's a serpent. In the very last book of the Bible, he's called serpent from the beginning to the end. And what this reveals or opens up is that in the same way there are strategies that the serpent or that snakes use, because there's a reason why the enemy is called a snake or a serpent, and the same strategies in the natural is what the enemy seeks to use against you in your life, in the supernatural. And there's so much here that today we're going to continue so you can be wise and recognize the schemes of the enemy or of the snake against you. It says and overcome them. It says in 2 Corinthians, it says, we are not unaware of his schemes. We are not unaware. Now, we're not to focus on him. Our focus is God, but we are to be aware of him. We are to be aware of these things because you are in the middle of it and it's already affecting your life. And if you don't recognize it, you won't be able to be victorious over it. And so there are real strategies. First of all, we're going to see what snakes do in the natural. Snakes, number one, seek to kill. The enemy has one purpose, and that is to kill, destroy everything that's of God. Every purpose of God, every calling of God, every minister of God, every child of God, that is his purpose, to seek to destroy you. Now, they have two ways of doing this, generally. And here's how it is. One is snakes prowl around. Peter said the enemy prowls around. He spoke about a lion, but also snakes do. They prowl around wide areas looking for victims. How do they spot their victim? They look for a creature that is off guard, vulnerable, weak in some way. In the same way, the enemy is always prowling around, first tactic, looking for weakness. He looks for weak believers to begin with, so he can cause problems for God's kingdom. But beyond weak believers who are vulnerable, he looks for weaknesses in every believer. He searches around and looks for the weakness in your life. In fact, he knows it probably better than you do. He looks for weaknesses, vulnerability, an unprotected area, an unguarded area, a careless area, an area where God isn't Lord, or where there's an idol, where there's an opening of something else, that your Achilles heel. You remember the story of Achilles? This is Greek mythology, but it gives a lesson. And that is that Achilles, according to the story, was dipped into a river to give him immortality, but his mother held him up by his heel, and so his heel was never invulnerable, and so we have an expression saying Achilles heel. Achilles heel is that one unprotected area in your life, that one weakness in your life. It may be more than one. That's what the enemy is looking for. Samson, strong man of God. I mean, strong physically. Well, when God came upon him, great power, great anointing, great calling. He was given a calling that's amazing. When you look at it, it almost seems like he's going to be the Messiah. Angel appears announcing his birth. How many times has that happened? Very rarely. And yet Samson, with all his power and anointing, he was fallen. He was pulled down, not by his strength, but by his weakness. You see, it is just as important to be strong. It's just as important to guard your weakness and know the weakness. That's the area, if you know, you may already know, you probably know some areas you're already weak in. That's the area you have to get together. That's the area that the enemy is looking for, that is working to try to pull you down. You need to protect that area. You need to take provision to strengthen that area.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA.